Well, welcome back to Einstein Media Center, your one-stop shop for all unnecessary media dissection. Today, we are joined by a special guest as always. Please give a big welcome to Sam Sparks of the independent music project Gumshoes. Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, of course. Thank you. Appreciate you taking the time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got into playing music and just a little bit of background about the Gumshoes project?
Sure. Okay, so my name's Sam. I'm I guess, singer-songwriter. Um, I've been playing music since I was a kid, but I was rubbish. I was rubbish for at least a decade and a half. I would do like piano lessons and that. Um, And I think I truly, genuinely believe the inception point for me making music is I'm so bad at reading sheet music that I had to come up with something else to play. So I came up with my own things to play. Um, and then such a huge music fan that one day you make the decision that seems so obvious when you put it on paper, but a lot of people don't make, and I didn't make for a long time, which is, oh, I could try doing that, like actually doing that with my hands and my will and my volition. Um, one day I did. I tried writing a song, and I thought it was rubbish. And then I wrote a second song, and I thought it was really good. And then a week later, I thought it was really bad. And then I kept doing that. I wrote like 100 songs, and then maybe I wrote a good one. Um, and then may and then I realized my songs kind of asking someone else to sing my songs felt insulting. So I realized I had to learn to sing my songs. Um, and then, I don't know, brick by brick, I've stumbled into recording and producing and albums. And now we're 4 albums deep, and I'm making pop music.
So, you've been doing this for quite some time. What was the process of teaching yourself how to not only write but then record and use, well, I guess what do you use to record and how do you get all those different sounds that we've come to be familiar with your music?
Um, oh, it's been agonizing, mate. Um, I'm I have such I'm really not like very tech savvy. I don't have the brain for like, oh, if you turn this dial this way, and if I still don't know what a compressor does. Try and um, but I just love the start of the process. I love the writing. I love the ideas. I love the melodies. I love just like surgically trying to get the melodies in the exact shapes I like and having the words fit on them. And the recording, it started as a means to an end. If you listen to my really early stuff, it's so rough around the edges because I had no idea what I was doing. But I happened to own a microphone, um, and I just sort of clambered together whatever equipment I had, whatever instruments I had sitting around that I was just playing randomly. Um, and then I Googled, what do you do to record music? And it said, have a microphone and an interface, and then do this. Um, and then you go to tutorial hell for like a year. You come out of it and you know nothing. In the end, it's just you keep doing it. And I think I recorded like probably multiple albums worth of music before I ever released anything. And if you listen to the first thing I released, it's incredible that that wasn't the first thing I tried. Like that it gets worse as you go back. But I think for someone like me who's more about the ideas and the polish and the tech stuff, that's kind of what it takes. Is you throw your head at the wall over and over. Maybe you learn a new tool here, I learn a new tool here. And I've been writing so much longer than I've been recording, so I feel like my recording is just like very slowly trying to catch up to where I feel like I am as a writer. Huge thing is learning how just digital instruments work, because that way I don't have to learn how to record things with a microphone. That is genuinely the reason I use so many digital instruments. Like, if you listen to like a record like Bugs or the last one, almost everything on those records is synthetic. I think it's my voice and my guitar, and then occasionally like a melodica, but not even the pianos are real nowadays, because part of it is just accessibility, but also it's for someone like me who's both not tech minded and not super able bodied, having like all that resources, it it's good for it's a cheat code for people like me who don't know how to use a microphone. We've gotten that.
Well, you say it's a cheat code, but to your point, like it's great for accessibility, and also you got to think like you're composing. You're really getting to exercise the thing that it seems that you love to do.
Yeah.
Back however many years ago, composers weren't playing every single instrument. They'd have an orchestra to do it, but you get to be that person now and piece by piece create that piece of art that you have in your head, which is great.
It's a weird. I mean, not even like 10 years ago you could do that because I make music that's acoustic in inverted commas, right? I like pianos and I like violins and keyboards and all this stuff that usually you'd have to either have a lot of friends or a lot of money. Um, it's like I feel like I'm cheating when I just like plug my keyboard in and then I throw it together. Um, One day I'm going to learn how to do like electronic stuff, and then I'll feel like I'm justified. But it's it. I just love cutting out the middleman. I use all the presets. I love presets. I don't need to learn how that works. Um, but being able to plug a keyboard into your computer and just focus purely on the composition, what a godsend. It's the only reason I've gotten anywhere. The only reason my music sounds like music.
Well, I think you've done a really great job. And how do you talked about how your recording process has gotten better over the years and you've become more skilled with it. I know for myself, and I'm sure for many others, we'd get very frustrated with having to persist, to your point from before you even release something to your first project to now. What keeps you motivated just to continue to learn to do something that maybe doesn't, excite you as much as the writing process?
It's I think the fact that it's genuinely gotten easier. I think that's the frustrations that start like when I was making like my first album. My first album's easily my most like ragtag scrambled. I wouldn't. You can listen to it if you really want to, but one was so much harder than my last record, which is way more busy and dense and full of flourishes. Um, because it's just eventually the friction that's there in every stage of the process, you get a little bit less and a little bit less, and then suddenly you start to. I actually find myself having a little bit of fun when I can cut straight to the arrangements and I can trade in this keyboard for this organ or whatever it is. And you sort of eventually the bit that's the frustrating part becomes something you can do, and then it becomes something you can get creative with, and that's what's very exciting to me. Is I don't think I'm ever going to be like a genius producer, but I think having I can see possibilities opening up now. I mean, with the last couple of records, which I think are the two that sound that's all professional, um, hearing the options that suddenly it becomes not something that you like trudging through. It becomes something you can get exciting about, and I'm very pleased that I've finally gotten to that point. So now when I don't know how to do any of the things I have in my head, but now all the funny sounds I have in my head and all the ideas and all the ambitions, every time I make something new, I feel like I get a little closer to the thing, and my borders expand a little bit, and that just keeps you hungry, knowing I can do, you know, maybe 5 years ago if I wanted to do like an easy listening bossa nova record, of course I can't do that, but now I'm like, oh, I could do that. No one would like it, but I could do that. Um, and yeah, I'm just so hungry for music that the
That's
borders.
awesome. That's awesome. That's great. And you really make that evident. You've been on this yearly release schedule, it seems like. Um, how do you write and record so quickly? You're so prolific. Your albums are full. They have a lot of songs on them. Like, how do you just write so much in a year?
Um, well, part of it's just my life circumstances, and that I'm it's I'm chronically ill is my thing. I've got chronic fatigue syndrome. That's helped me back. That's been, you know, 7, 8 years of that. So that means I'm not in education. I'm not in the workforce at the moment, which means on the one hand, I have very little like wherewithal very little energy, but I have a lot of free time. So what my albums having this release schedule, it seems like I must be super busy, super energetic to be able to do anything I do. That's the illusion. The truth is it's like 10, 15 minutes of it every day for a year can slowly get you to an album rather than like densely packing it in. And it's the thing I do when I have energy. If I have energy, if I have something to give, I put it into music. And I don't know, I've got good enough at that in my routine. I've got good enough at managing that I can hold to this schedule while I, recover, get better.
Hmm. Well, I hope you do get better. I'm rooting for you for sure.
We're getting there.
Good, good. So you have this year, you've released Bugs Forever. Can you tell me a little bit can you tell us what the concept of the album was, and then maybe a little bit of the inspiration around what that concept came from?
Yeah, it's a specific one. It's Bugs Forever is an album about the end of the world, where all the humans are gone, no humans, and it's different sort of perspectives and ideas on the apocalypse as condensed into songs from the perspective of different bugs. Every song is like a different bug for this song, and this bug has this own perspective, this own idea, one by one. 12 different bugs, 12 different ideas, all apocalypse, all fun.
So why this concept of the end of the world? Like, what was the inspiration there? What sparked this idea?
Oof, the world outside, everything that's happening all the time. I'm my I think even like when I was first writing songs, the first kinds of songs I wrote about, even back then, were apocalyptic songs. But it's one of the apocalypse and weddings have been the two like through lines in so many songs I've written, and I can't totally analyze why, but I think there's sort of an ambient dread that I'm always feeling, and I think a lot of people are always feeling because of all manner of reasons. Um, and I'm at a point in a songwriter where I don't really write from like a directly personal place. I don't write from like a what's the word? It's not like a diary. It's not confessional. So any idea I have, instead of just writing from the heart, I like to blow it up. I like to go for the most dramatic version of that. I like to go for the most whimsical, offbeat version of that because that's the skill set I've built. Um, so any sort of ambient dread I have about anything, it totally makes sense to blow that up into like literal apocalyptic proportions. Um, and so as soon as an apocalypse record was going to happen sooner or later for me because dread is just the emotion. um, now, um, bugs is a little harder to explain. Um, why was it bugs? I want to say there was some kind of serious artistic reason for bugs. I think it's 50-50. One is I wanted to challenge myself because until then I'd always written songs from the point of view of characters. I do like uh, people in situations. Um, and I was like, I want to push myself. I want to get out of character-driven songwriting. I want to try and do something, more descriptive, more poetic. And then I ended up just doing more character-driven songwriting, but pretending they were bugs instead of people. So not a total success in that regard, but it let me get away from the human angle, which is usually what I do. Um, Push me a little bit. I think without having the human stuff in the middle, I get to focus a little more on the pure like perspective and feeling and emotion, which was fun. Uh, that's the serious reason. The dumb reason is that I think bugs is a funny word, and I wanted to write an album about them, and I can't deny that.
Well, I think that's like fun and interesting. If something is interesting to you as a writer and it sparks that interest, I like that. That's cool. Did you have to, or did you feel the need to like do any particular, I don't know, we'll say research on the bugs you were writing about to try and either inspire or help inform how you were writing from their perspectives?
I know I should have. I know I should have. I should have. I don't. This is the thing. I don't especially like bugs. Um, I think I looked up what the name of like a roly-poly pill bug is because those things are cool. Um, but I don't know. I can't pretend it wasn't anything other than a whimsical aesthetic choice. Um, but I don't know. If I had the idea, I would do a little Googling. What's the most anxious bug? What's the most? Hey, mostly no.
Well, that's still really interesting. Um, so you have this concept album, and it seems like you've been pretty persistent in writing concept albums. Is that like something that you've always enjoyed? Do you have concept albums that have inspired you in your own musical upbringing?
Um, a bit yes, a bit no. Um, I think the main reason I think I started writing concept records is because I realized that my style of songwriting is less like I put the pen to the page and I see where it takes me. I'm way more, I have a specific idea in mind and I build the bricks one by one to try and get to that point, which naturally suits itself to concept because you can pick something very like far out and specific. And if my skill set is less like channeling my heart and my emotions, my artistic soul, I don't think I've got one of those. You, it makes it way easier to like aim for a specific target. And one day I think it was on my second record, which has some like loose concept stuff going on. I realized, oh, hang on, I could just do this every time. Um, and then I thought of the Mountain Goats because I'm a big Mountain Goats fan, as any concept album fan should be. And I look at like basically that's all basically what the Mountain Goats do is they pick something very specific and they write a concept towards it. And I'm like, that's really cool. And I wish more artists did that. And I am one of those more artists, so maybe I should do that. Um, I tried it for Cacophony, and I really enjoyed doing it. I tried it for Bugs. I really enjoyed doing it. I'm currently writing the next album, and I'm really enjoying doing it. And now I'm locked in for the rest of my life, I think. Um, it's nice to have like a guiding principle, so you're not pulling from the entire world and every of ideas and every possible emotion and every possible thought. If I know I can focus it in one direction, um, gets me keeps me going.
Nice, nice. So I can definitely see a big Mountain Goats influence on the music you make. What other either artists or genres has been like a big influence on the sound or maybe even just the writing process for when you're creating music?
Mm. Um, the writing is an interesting one in that nowadays I'm a fiend for lyrics. I love lyricism. It's the bit I spend the most time on. It's the bit I'm get most perfectionist about. But when I first started writing songs, I didn't care about lyrics at all. The lyrics were just the words that the melodies came through on. It was only it would have been about when I did my first record and I was releasing stuff, I started to take it seriously. When I was listening to like my lyrics are nothing like him, but I was listening to like David Berman. I was listening to like Bill Callahan. I was listening like I've been a Joanna Newsom fan for ages, but actually paying attention to what she was saying. Um, then I did all your classic old guys. I would get into your Cohen and your Dylan and your so on so on. And it was specifically the when the Purple Mountains record came out, when David Berman's Purple Mountains record came out. I listened to that and I thought, oh, okay, I have to take lyrics seriously after hearing that. Like after hearing that lyrics can do that, how could I how can I put so little effort into this? Like this, the potential is there. And then it got me hooked. Um, and then after that, my lyrical inspiration became wanting to outdo myself. Um, and I've tried to fine tune, and fine tune, and hopefully I'll keep doing that and become good. um, on the musical end, it was I don't know if I could pull a specific musical thing. I think when I discovered because my like foundational music stuff is a lot of like very like the popular indie of like the 2000s and the 2010s. Like I was like, oh yeah, Sufjan Stevens, Illinois is like the most significant record that's ever been released. Oh, who are the Beatles? It was a lot of that. and then I got hungry for the older stuff. But that was like the very early stuff I got really into. I got a lot of like that 2000s chamber pop stuff. Um, and then I felt like I kind of moved away from it, and then as we were saying, as I got like better at the musical stuff, suddenly it crept back in, and I found it like, oh no, this is what I'm doing. Um, I don't want to. My hope is that I can now incorporate the other stuff I am into, as I think of like I'm listening to a lot of like music out of Shibuya from like the 90s. That's like my current like super focusing in. I'm listening to a lot more of like classic 60s pop, diving deep for like girl group classics and like going through the Motown catalog as far as I can get. And like I'm listening to a lot of house music because I love dance music. I love having energy and a pulse to my music. Um, I don't know. I try and listen to as much as I can, but that's the stuff I'm finding creeping in my head. And I'll dig deeper. I'll carry it forward. We'll see.
So is like something like a dance record from you, is that like something that you would potentially see on the table in the years to come? Are you willing to venture that far out?
I think if everything goes to plan, in 15 years I'll be making deep house, and that's it. I yeah, I think the natural next step for me when I look at a record like Bugs, which is the chamberiest of chamber pop, um, it feels like the natural next step is like a lot of this like very like lush, organic, um, sentimental, um, sweeping styles in the vein of like that era of Sufjan or that era of I think like Jens Lekman or something like that kind of sound. And that's exactly why I don't really want to go any further because not because that music isn't great, but because I can see where the dead end would be if I face in that direction, and that scares me. So I also don't want to do the thing that I know would be so easy, which is try and make personal, emotional music and then accidentally make it boring, which I know I had the potential in. So I'm really trying to like kick myself and force myself to keep energy up, to keep energy, to keep color, to keep vibrance, to keep or to be willing to be a little bit annoying, a little bit obnoxious, as long as the hooks are there and the color is there. I don't want to ever get grayscale with my music as long as I possibly can. So that's why I'm always focused on dance music and psychedelia and whatever it is. I'm not talented enough to incorporate that straight away, but that's the direction I'm pointing. I want to keep it uh, bold and vibrant. That's the word.
I really think that approach is very interesting. You know, I can tell like your artistic integrity is important. So you're not, to your point, creating music that is boring or flaccid or anything like that. What shaped like your opinion on having this very, I don't want to say necessarily particular, but like specific way to approach art or even to maybe consume specific artists who have maybe a similar ideal or work ethic when it comes to creating their own art?
I think what I've felt just as a listener, as a fan, what's really undervalued in music like is like brightness and upbeatness and and vibrance. And it feels like it's too easy to say, oh, if something is very like serious and austere and grayscale, that means that's the real art. You know, that's where the meat is. I want to. My favorite album of all time. I have one specific favorite because it's so foundational to me. Is the Avalanches? Is Since I Left You, and I know whenever I can hear specifically when I hear a musician, I can know for a fact that's also their favorite album. Like that, I think that album falls into people's like Jens Lekman, 100%. There's no way that's not his favorite album of all time. I can tell, because there's a spirit to it, that record and records like it where you can see, oh, the motivating factor here isn't like some serious statement. It isn't like we're trying to tap into an emotion or an experimentation. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's awesome. I love that, but I think the guiding principle being color and joy and vivacity feels rare, almost scary, like because you're in danger of looking foolish and annoying, which I suspect I am, and I suspect I will continue to be. But I'm willing to risk that because I listen to like the Avalanches. I listen to like um, I don't know that there aren't enough examples, or like a lot of like goofy '90s music, or especially the '60s. '60s is all about it, and I don't know. It gets me hungry. It feels like there's so much uncharted territory if you're willing to be um, if you're willing to risk being annoying in the process of being fun. Um, and I want to be fun.
Nice.
Um,
That's nice. So with that idea of focusing on fun, brightness, vivaciousness, like are there any contemporary artists today that you kind of see that same spark in where you say like they really understand like the music that you care about and the approach that you care about?
that's a good question. Let me think for a moment. Um, it's not in the same genre, but I love pop music. I love mainstream pop music as well as independent. I'm a huge Carly Rae Jepsen fan. I think she's a genius. I think she's a total genius. And I hear it in her music how um a, a great Carly Rae Jepsen song feels like a song in love with its own genre in a way that I really admire. Like I I I believe she's the biggest pop fan in the world, and you can hear it. Um, and that gets me excited. That gets me feeling creative, even though that's a totally different kind of pop music to what I make. Um, and I'm a huge fan because of that. He hasn't released in a while, but Todd Terje, the producer, he's a Norwegian electronic producer. He only did one record like a decade ago, but I was just listening to it the other day. I was like, oh man, this is, I love house music, but a lot of house music is very like, it's about hypnosis. It's about like being sleek and cool and hitting you in the soul. Todd Taylor is like the goofiest dude in the world. It's like, but it's I don't know. I hear that record, and even though it's goofy and silly, the spirit gets me. Um, I'm sure there's more that's modern, but I can't. I don't know. I try and keep up with modern music as best I can, but there's so much music. I'm trying to keep up with every genre at once. I can't do it.
Yeah, I understand, and that actually kind of brings me to an interesting question for you. With how difficult it is to release your own music and build up an audience these days, what is like the approach you take, or what are your expectations when it comes to putting out your own music? Is this really just for yourself, or do you think like there's a world where you continue to gather a following? Because I'm sure you have gathered a following over the years of people who are interested in listening to your music.
Mm. I'm I'm so not social media savvy. I don't. I've It took me literal months to figure out how to make an Instagram account. Which I'm a young man. I'm a very young man. This is not normal. So the current like landscape of like music releasing and marketing or whatever it is, I have no intuition for, and I think it's too late for me to learn. The fact that I have anyone who's ever discovered my music is an total aberration. It doesn't make any sense. Um, I genuinely think it's because I have a few online music friends who listened to the record when it first came out and were very kind about it. And then I think one record got enough that a few more listened to the second record, which was enough that the third record for like real deep divers, it flagged for them. Um, and then Bugs has been the biggest of them all so far. Um, I also weirdly would get picked up by Apple Music playlists in a way that I don't understand. I don't know. I feel like maybe there's one person in that playlist division who's looking out for me. Thanks, whoever you are. Um, I I would love people to listen to my music. I would. I don't do it for an audience. I would love that. I would love to have like people getting nerdy about my records. I think that's awesome. And I see a few, and it's super cool. I love it. Um, I don't know how to do that purposely. I'm hoping it'll happen accidentally, and then one day I'll get healthy and I'll play shows and I'll do it the traditional way. But right now, I'm just sort of hoping everything aligns because I don't know how to do it myself. Um, if I have these super fans out there, please tell me how to do it. I'll spread my gospel.
Well, so I mean, something seems to be working. You definitely do have. I've seen people talk about your albums on Reddit, and there's definitely people out there. So that's exciting.
I must fill a niche of some kind. I mean, I think I know most. I know dorks like me. I do very well among dorks, and I say that as a dork. So I'm clearly filling a niche somewhere, and maybe that'll keep me going.
Nice. So then I think I read either you had posted it on the Bandcamp or somewhere else that with the EP that you released after Bugs, you were focusing on doing a little bit of experimentation when it came to your songwriting. Can you speak to a little bit about what that experimentation was and where that's taken you so far with writing this upcoming album?
Yeah, it was very light experimentation. I was I really just wanted to sort of see what works for me. I wanted to learn how to use distortion a little better than I have been. Um, we're still working on that one. I wanted to try out some new tools, some new plugins and stuff. And just after writing two concept albums in a row and a concept EP in the middle of those, I just wanted to, you know, if I have a dumb idea, I have a dumb phrase that won't get out of my head, be able to put that down. Um, just write without expectations for a little while, expectations of myself on myself. Um, and it was fun. I think I don't know how successful it was, but it was definitely like it got me feeling a little more confident that I haven't hit the wall of what I can do. I can sort of open up new avenues little by little. Um, and now going into this fifth record, I feel like pretty confident that these ideas I can have in my head, I can do. The challenging bit will be keeping that spirit up so I don't get in a rut. Will be, I think, after this fifth record, I want to make something like experimental, which is going to be difficult for me, and it probably will turn out as pop music anyway because I can't help myself. But I love experimental music. I don't want to get settled. I make extremely accessible indie pop, and I'm very proud and happy and devoted to doing that. But um, I don't want to get stuck in it. So this EP was hoping to sort of just jolt myself a little bit. Um, I'm gonna hopefully continue jolting myself until there's nothing left.
So when you're writing, you release an album, begin writing the next one for your next yearly release. Do you ever come to a point where you begin writing maybe a new song or you get a new idea and you're like, I need to put that on hold and that can be for LP6 or LP7 and you have to tuck something away for a while?
I have done that. I definitely have done that. There's a song that I wrote just a couple of weeks ago that may or may not make the next record that I've had the musical idea and the concept of that has been sitting around since maybe 2017. It's before I released a single thing. I was like, I want to write a song about that one day, and it finally came into place where it's good. And I wrote it, and it's all right, and we'll see if it even makes the record. But um, I think the way I write is I very much have like I put almost no intention into like here's my musical idea, here's my lyrical concept. I don't need those things to match really. If they go elegantly, great. If they don't, oh, it was purposeful contrast, whatever. Um, and that means I can have these little like I should write a song about this. I could write an album about this. I can tuck that away, and I don't feel bad about stashing that. Um, and then musical ideas. I'm an avid recycler, where if I have a song that doesn't quite work out, I love to strip it apart. I love to take the bit I liked. I'm not precious about it at all. I take, oh, that hook was good. Oh, that little instrumental part. Oh, I love that chord sequence. And I throw it into the next record. And then everything that gets cut from that record, I scramble up and throw into the next one. And that means I never feel like I'm putting anything off too much because I always have the ideas I can always make fresh if they're not already fresh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So do you have like a I don't want to say specific metric or but like any guiding principle that lets you know when, yeah, maybe this idea or this song should be left on the cutting room floor or repurposed? Like, how do you really know?
It's tough because I'm excited about my music until maybe like the last 20% of making it, at which point all my enthusiasm is gone. Um, I'm very glad people have enjoyed Bugs. For me personally, as a listener, I could not care less about that music now it's done. I think there's probably good songs on it. I haven't checked, and so that means I find myself like, oh, I'm really excited about this concept. I can't wait to write about it. Oh, these hooks are working so great. Oh, this verse is working so great. Oh, I'm arranging it. Oh, it's coming alive. And then I get to like, you know, 2, 3 months before release, and I'm like, oh no, I could lose that one, and then it's gone. I'm flighty. um, I prefer to kill darlings at a serial killer level if I can. Um, I I think it's because I know how to recycle that I don't get too precious about anything, which has served me well, I think. If anything, I could probably cut more. Um, but anyway, if I don't stay too attached, and that seems to help.
Nice, nice. So then you have to be, I assume, relatively far with at least the writing process on this new album. Can you speak to a little bit about what it's going to sound like, or maybe what it's going to be about? Anything that you're willing to share?
Sure. I've written 9 songs so far. I'm currently working on 2 more. I think the final record. I only want it to be about 8 or 9 songs. I think less but longer. Um, Sound wise, I, th- I really want to focus on energy. I want this to be like a really really rhythmic, really energetic record. Um, just more percussion in all possible places, less lilt, less balladry. I want that. I want that punch. I want it to be my most sort of saturated record. You know what I mean? Um, I really resent having to write ballads. I've written one ballad for this record, and I hated every second of it. I think it's a pretty good song, but I can't do it. Um, so yeah, I would say it's more energetic. I would say a little bit more danceable in spots. Very very melody forward, even for me. I love a big chorus. I love a big hook. Melodies, it's what I'm obsessed with. And I've been so specific with melodies on this one. I'm hoping it'll be big and lush and energetic and fun. I've been saying it all the time, but that's the hope. And then lyrically, probably sadder than the last one, but hopefully sad in a whimsical way. We're back to human beings on this one.
Okay, nice, nice.
It's
You
not nearly as specific a concept. I don't think I can get more specific than Bugs was, but hopefully I've got guiding principles. Hopefully they'll connect with someone.
nice. That's great. So you keep talking about this idea of whimsy. I guess that has like some tie to your penchant for vivaciousness and bringing a lot of color. Are there any other like I don't want maybe outside of music, any other forms of artwork or other forms of media that maybe you gravitate towards because you enjoy this level of whimsy? Is there anything like there that inspires you or that you just happen to enjoy?
I'm I'm a very I would love to say this isn't true, but I'm such a sucker for like your twee. You're like you put on a Wes Anderson film, I'm the absolute mark. Like I fall totally for that. I'm a fool. Um, I've 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 been watching a lot of like Golden Age Hollywood films, and it's everyone speaks in a way that no one ever speaks, and it's like screwball, like watching Cary Grant fall over. I'll do that for hours. Um, so it definitely shows up in my cinema tastes. I love a good 3 hour slow cinema avant-garde. I'm open to that. I'm not looking that off. But God, do I love a goofy comedy or watching like Charlie Chaplin fall over. I'll do that all day. Um, I love video games. I love sort of weird little. I've got such like a sweet tooth for like 6 hour narrative indie games, which I play all as many of them as I can with like big and games always have some kind of like crazy art style. There's so many talented people in that field, and like I love seeing like some very specific vision just in terms of the artwork, and then telling a very specific personal story in this way, and then telling it in a really unique way with the interactivity. It's the stuff that gets you excited creatively. So video games definitely play a role. Um, what else do I do? I should probably be reading more than I am. I'm getting there. Yeah, movies and video games, mostly music, music the main thing. It always will be.
Nice, nice. When it comes to video games, is that like something you would ever be interested in composing music for? Is that something you've ever thought about?
It popped into my head really recently, actually, that I was like, oh man, I could do that. I think I'd be good at that. It would have to be like a very specific kind of game. I don't think they'd have me doing it for like Dark Souls, but like I think I could do like a whimsical little like indie RPG. I, I've I've had like I've had a musical idea on the piano that I keep recycling over and over and never gets anywhere. And then the other day I realized, oh no, this is a JRPG boss theme. And I using for anything else would be sacrilege. One day, if I ever get asked to make a JRPG, I'll use that. Um, that'd be really cool. I'd love to do music for a video game. I think I could do it.
Yeah,
It's all like melodies and motifs and stuff. I can do that.
yeah. I could definitely see your music fitting in there. Absolutely. I like that. I'll be looking out for a JRPG, composed by you.
One day, if you know anyone, send them my way.
So, obviously, album coming out again next year. Can we look forward to any other music until then, or just keep an eye out on, around New Year's time?
Keep an eye out. New Year's time. If I miss New Year's, I'll be upset with myself. That's the deadline I've set. Um, until then, you probably won't get much from me other than probably a single towards the end of the year. I think I'm already having ideas of what the singles could be. Maybe even a couple if I get hungry. I think my current pace probably will slow down a little bit because I like having this yearly album thing. I think others' EPs and side projects will either be like less of them or way less polished. I think next year I might make a really bad project. Just make something that sounds like trash and is totally unfinished. I don't know if I'll release that under the Gumshoes name, but I think um, I'm tired, man.
Yeah, I get that. Cool. Well, the last question I always like to end these interviews with is regarding your local town, your local city's delicacies. I love food, so if I were to be in your neck of the woods, what is a specific dish you'd recommend?
In my neck of the woods, the specific dish you would get is my mom's pie. It is every Christmas she makes the same pie on Christmas Eve. It is um, it is ham and turkey and like a very specific, like very such a like a British savory pie. Um, I'm vegetarian now, so we go on the meat substitute. But if you ever meet my mom and she offers to make you a pie, take her up on that. That's my advice. Makes very good roast potatoes as well.
I love that. There's nothing better than a home cooked meal, especially by your mother.
Absolutely. That's more better than any cuisine I could give you.
Nice. I love that. So, where can the audience find your music? I know you're not too active on social media, but I know you're on Instagram a little bit. Where should they be looking out for all of your stuff?
Yeah, I mean Bandcamp, the straightforward way. I've got a Blue Sky account which I almost know how to use. I've got the Instagram account which I definitely don't know how to use, but I do have it. Um, and I'm streaming in all the streaming places. If anyone emails me, my emails are always open. I like to hear from people. Message me on anything. I'd love to talk. Um, yeah, I'll get a better presence. I'll figure it out. I'll hire a manager.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming by. It was great to talk to you, and I'll be looking out for you around New Year's.
Yeah, yeah. New Year's Day. Let's say New Year's as close to that as I can.